Welcome to Rad Chat. I'm your host, Brandy Lynn, and today we are going to do a quick shout out to Lawson Creative. He made us these masks, and they're so amazing. They fit perfect over your nose and your mouth. Guys, wear a mask. Also, let's take them off real quick. We're going to give a shout out to Skin Deep Photo. I'm wearing her shirt that she gave me. She actually is the reason why I'm able to interview our guest today, who is Heather Yesenia. Welcome. And Skin Deep Photo has shot us both, so thank you, Skin Deep. Melissa, you're amazing.
My heart.
She's great.
I love her.
Me too, right? All right, so let's get started, guys. Today, my special guest is an actress, photographer, and a model. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so appreciative. I know the world is like going really crazy right now. Don't worry, guys. We're safe. We have hand sanitizer. We haven't been sick. We're all good. We're distanced. So don't worry. But yeah, let's kind of get started. And how did you become an actress? You have such great talents. Those three talents in one is really amazing. But let's start kind of with your acting career.
Well, I started acting. I didn't really know that I wanted to be an actress. I think I grew up just liking performing. When I was in elementary, we used to do a lot of school performances. And I used to love it. I used to get really, really excited.
That's so funny because I was the opposite.
No, I would love, like, when we used to take the forms, so, like, this is what you should wear. I used to be so excited. Like, I used to buy everything before.
Oh my God,
I used to have
so
everything
cute.
ready. But I never really thought, like, oh, this was something that I'm going to pursue, you know? I had it in me because, like, my grandfather was a singer. My dad is a singer. And my mom is a singer, so I think I had that in me, but I never really acknowledged it. I was just like, oh, it's just fun. But yeah, I would love it. Fast forward to like high school, I remember I had to take like 2 electives, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna take this drama class and this art class. So I remember walking into the drama class, and I remember just being over the day. I'm like, I just want to go home. I'm like low-key gonna go into the nurse's office and be like, I have a stomach ache. I want to
we all did that,
right? And I'm like, I just want to go home. And so I went in, I sat down, I was so bored. But then the teacher started talking about acting and started talking about storytelling. He started telling us what we were going to be doing and how we were going to be writing our own stories. I got so like excited. Something in me was like, wait, what is this? What is this feeling? And I'm like, wait, hold up.
That's so sweet.
And I think from that, like, the teacher wasn't supportive or very positive, but I just loved the class. And I'm like, this is something that I like truly, truly, truly love. So it's something that I really want to do. And I don't know, it's just in that moment I'm like, yo, this is what I want to do.
Dude, that's so incredible. I feel like to learn that so young too and like have that empowering moment must be incredible, because I feel like in high school I did not have any of those moments. I had no idea what I was going to do. Then you have to go to college and you're like, what the hell am I going to go to college and do? So that's so incredible that you realize that. And that's how you know you really have that in you. Kind of like you said, you come from a family of singers. You had that moment where it finally connected. Like, oh shit, like this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. That's really empowering.
I'm so thankful because I grew up not knowing. Like, for me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor, because I'm like, everybody wants to be something professional. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor. And then I remember cutting myself one time in my foot, and I couldn't with the blood. I'm like, no, there is no way I'm gonna be a doctor, because I'm not gonna be able to take the blood. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're okay.
So I'm like, there's nothing that I like. There's nothing that really, you know how you do something and you're very happy and you're satisfied with it? Yeah. I didn't have anything like that until I took that acting class. And I'm like, oh shoot, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what I want to do.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
I kind of really love that story, because I feel like you said, with your family, do you feel like, was it kind of intimidating growing up, knowing that like your mom's a singer, your dad's a singer, like you had that in your family? Or was it kind of nice because you kind of had the freedom to explore like artistic things?
It was, for me growing up, I grew up to missionaries. So they used to sing in church a lot, and they were really good singers. And I think for being their daughter, I always felt like everybody was looking at me to see if I had the talent. So I never really liked to sing. I was always forced to sing. But it was never really fun until I grew up, and I'm like, oh, I like to sing. But for myself, not because I was being forced. But I always did feel like I was always being judged because I was their daughter. And they had really nice voices.
So, are you an only child?
No, I have 2 younger sisters.
So, but you're the oldest.
But I'm the only ones that like is in this world. My sisters are not really into it.
Oh, okay.
So that's really interesting too.
Yeah, that is interesting because you feel like you would kind of pass down in certain ways.
And in a way, I'm like, maybe they like something like we're so different, which is really weird and crazy.
That's interesting though, because then you can kind of play off each other's differences as well.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm not from California, but I've heard missionaries before. What is that actually? Is it kind of like a choir, like almost church-like, or?
Yeah, my parents we used to live in church and preach the word of God, and we used to walk around and like go to door, knock and talk about God. That's really what they did, and that's how I grew up until I was like 7.
Oh wow.
And then my mom got out of it, and I went to live with my grandparents, and that's where I grew up.
Oh, nice.
So
that's an interesting story too in itself. That just like really kind of starts the core of who you are.
And I think it's crazy because I grew up very sheltered from the world. And I grew up in a bubble kind of, because I didn't know this whole world. I think that's why I'm the way I am. I like almost everything. Because I think when we got out, I started hearing music, I started experimenting, and I have tattoos now, and I'm like, I would never get tattoos. When I was younger, I'm like, no.
I have so many.
Yeah.
I'm not even showing mine now.
Right? But I think it's crazy to see how I grew up, going from knowing nothing and being so naive, and then to who I am now, and trying to get into this world of this is such a
huge world, especially in California.
It's a different world than where I was growing up to be.
Yeah, I feel like that must actually really help you, because now that you've seen the world in such a bigger light, or maybe you obviously tell me, but I think that could be an asset to you, because you now can see the world in like total open eyes, where maybe some people are very centered on only what they know, but now you have this whole world in front of you. That's really incredible. You would never know something about that unless you talk about people.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really ask, and it's crazy when I talk about it. I'm like, damn, I was in that world of, I only knew God was the only thing that I knew. My parents, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and a lot of people didn't. When I would go to school, I was very like the weird, awkward one. Like, oh, she's who is she? Yeah. I'm like, okay. And I didn't have a lot of friends. So growing up and coming from that to who I am now, it's night and day. It's so crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's really powerful, because I feel like, not that I had an experience with like being sheltered in like the church or religious world, but I can understand what you mean when you said like, all of a sudden it's the whole new world and you want this and you want that. Because I was raised in a family where you like didn't talk outside your family. Like what happened in your I had a like my mom, dad, and sister, whatever happened in our family, like we weren't allowed to like tell people, like if like, because like for instance, I went through some like trauma, but like you couldn't talk about it. And then the minute I got older, so kind of what you said, the minute you got to a certain age or you got out of it, it was like, oh, I can talk about everything, and like I want to tell people and I want to talk, and then I felt like now I can't shut up. So it's kind of like, not that it's the same, but now it's like for you, it's like now this whole world's open and you can go into all these characters as an actress.
Yes, I think it's helped me so much, because I think I've experienced life in a different way, and I've seen things and I've gone through things that now as a person I want to share these stories, even if it's as a character, and just express myself in ways that I wouldn't naturally. So.
And that's really great. So kind of like, I know I got a little kind of off topic, but I'm really happy that you shared that, because it does show like the kind of person you are and what you've grown to be, and just your growth. How is it now, once you realize that moment in high school, where did you go from there?
Well, when I graduated, I was struggling to kind of find a class that would fit for me. And my mom is actually the one that found my acting class, because
shout out to mom.
Yeah, my mom is the most supportive person in the whole world.
That's awesome. Shout out to her mom.
Yeah, shout out to mom. So yeah, one night she just went into the room and she's like, so I've been talking to this actress, and she knows this coach, and she recommended him. Do you want to go? I already talked to the stage manager.
Oh my god!
And she's like, we can go audit a Tuesday class. And I'm like, cool. And she went with me, and we audited the class.
Oh my god!
And I was so scared. I was freaking out. I was so intimidated. I'm like, oh my gosh. Aside from high school, like I've never gone to an acting class. I've never took anything. Like I've read books and this and that. But
and you're from Los Angeles always?
Yes, I was born and raised in here. But so I was never like, oh, I had this experience. No, I just had high school. Like I'm like, I don't. So I remember, I remember a coach say like, do you have any back like training? I'm like, high school. Like, that's all I know. That's all I have.
Hey, and, it's something though. It's something.
Yeah, and so I audited the class. We did some improvs. We did on-screen cameras, and I was in love with everything. Like, everybody that was going on stage, they're so talented. It was my mind was like, hold up, like, this is too much to take in. Yeah. So then after when we left, my mom's like, so what do we think about the class? And I'm like, I loved it. Like, I want to start. So nice. And I started a couple of months after, maybe a year after, and I've been there ever since.
Oh my god, wow. So so that was right after high school? How many years approximately?
Maybe 2 years after high school.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, because I was still struggling to find my way, and I didn't know how anything worked. Like, I didn't know what kind of headshots I'm supposed to get. Yeah. I was trying to look for agents and managers, which was really, really hard.
I was gonna say that must be really hard. Kind of want to go through that process a little bit.
Yeah. Starting off, I remember when I started the class, I had nothing. I didn't know what is a good headshot. I remember taking some, and my coach was like, these are too glamorous. Like, you're so young, you shouldn't look your age. I'm like, oh crap, okay.
They always tell you, like, no makeup. I know, like, maybe acting is different, but I know, like, modeling headshots, when I started, it was always like, no makeup, wear like a cami.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, my coach is always like, you have this youth to you. Like, try to keep that as much as you can. And my manager's always like, we can use this because you look so young and you can still play young.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, well, yeah. That's scary, but I'm like, I really want to be my age, but it's like,
I know that must be hard.
So I went into trying to find agents, and that was that's a struggle, because you go into these interviews and they want to see what you're about, and I was still starting out. I was so intimidated. I would get super nervous. And like when I would have to do the interview and I would have to do like a monologue for them, I would be like, shoot, my mind will go blank. I'm like damn it. I'm like, damn. But little by little, like going to class, doing scene work, I got more comfortable with the idea of I think that was my problem. I didn't acknowledge that I was an actual actress. Like, I never said to myself, you're an actress, until I remember I did a scene in class and I got really good feedback for it. And I was just like going back home like, oh shit, hold up, I'm an actress. I'm like, hold up, I'm a real actress.
That's so
And then from there, I just started getting more confidence in my work. And when people wanted to work with me, I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah. So that I use that confidence in, going into interviews for agents and managers. I'm so thankful for the manager that I do have right now, because of him, I got an agent.
Oh, good. So, shout out to her manager.
Yeah, Ron, I love you.
Yes, Ron.
Yeah, and he's such a blessing, and it's so crazy how I met him. I was literally at a cafe rehearsing lines, waiting for my scene partner, and he just came and he's like, "Are you an actress?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "I'm a manager," and I'm like, "What?"
Dude,
it was just a random story. It was so random, dude. I was literally minding my own business, going through my lines, and he like just came and he's like, I think he came and he's like, "You took my table," and I'm like, "Oh, I thought you left." And he's like, "Are you an actress?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I'm a manager," and he like introduced himself. He sat down and he started saying, "Yeah." So from there, we started working.
That. And I love that it's at like a cafe, because I love coffee.
Me too. Like,
cheers, girl, cheers.
I was like, dude, coffee is life.
That is life. Dude, that's so incredible. I feel like that's legit the Hollywood story. Like, when I moved here from New Jersey, that's the stories you would hear, like, oh, you could be in a cafe and someone's just gonna hit you up, and like, that legit happened.
But I never really believed those stories. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna go spend like a whole day at a cafe, see what happens.
So amazing.
I was just like, and I'm the type of person that like, if I'm working on something that I truly love, I'm like, I block out the whole world. So I'm like, I had my coffee, I had my little muffin, and I'm like, I was just reading my lines, and then like this dude comes and I'm like, oh shit, what do you want? And then he's like, yeah, and he's like, are you an actress? I'm like, yeah, and he's like, cool. He's like, I'm a manager, and he just sat down, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy. This is like one of those stories, but I never really believed them. I'm like, that's not real.
It was meant to be. It's such a I'm all about magic. That's legit a magical moment, dude.
Yeah, I was like, this is crazy, and he sent me out to like, he's got me out so much, and I'm so thankful for him. I always tell him, like, I talked to him yesterday, I'm like, I'm so thankful for you, like, you're such a blessing in my life.
Great.
Because he's also the type of person that will check in on you, and he'll be like, make sure you're good. And I didn't have that with my previous manager, and he is always on me, like, how are you doing? Especially now that things are crazy. He's like, what are you doing? And he keeps me busy. Like, he sends me out things like, read this and tell me what you think. So I'm very, very thankful for him.
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
That's really great. So then now you have your manager and you have an agent. What is the difference between a manager and an agent?
I feel like they kind of do the same thing, but I think managers are more personal.
Gotcha.
They are really on you, like, are you good?
And the agent's more like getting you
getting you
jobs.
out. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's the only difference because they basically do the same thing. Because he sends me out, she sends me out, so that's really cool.
So how is it to like? I have no experience in the acting world, but I just love movies and TV shows. So it's like how is it to go on auditions? How's that process?
Auditions, it depends on the part because I always treat them like, okay, this is like, and every part you should treat as it's a huge part.
Yeah.
But prepping them it's really interesting because you can go and do it yourself and just rehearse it yourself and get into character. And when you get in there, you're really with just the casting people, and it's just you and a camera, and then they're just sitting down. They're just like, when you're ready.
Serious?
Yeah. Like sometimes they'll smile at you, and then sometimes they won't. So it can be kind of intimidating, but you have to like not see it as, you know, like, oh shoot, like, you have to see it as they need you as much as you need them.
Gotcha.
So you have to come in there just with such a positive mind and just
and
like,
take that ease off.
Yeah, and just like do it. And then I like to just do it, be in it, and then when I leave, just drop it. Like, don't even think about it anymore.
Oh, that's really
because
smart.
if I continue to think about it, I'm always gonna be like, am I gonna get a call back?
Yeah.
Did I do this right? Did I say these? Like, you got me? So you gotta overthink everything.
That's actually really good because you hear stories about how like actors went through that. Like, oh, I got so depressed because I never got a call back and I got so many no's. So that's good. Did you start when your first auditions, did you already start with that mindset or did you have to kind of learn it?
No, I think I had to learn it because I remember when I would go into my auditions, I would always get super excited and I would freak out because I would forget my lines sometimes.
Oh, okay.
And then I would overwork myself, and then I would overthink every little detail. Like, should I wear this? Does this look too like old? Or my hair, should I put it up?
Yeah, there's a
like,
lot
I
of
would think
factors.
every detail
first
about
impression.
Yeah, and this was really cool that I took this class because they teach you that. They teach you how to walk into a room. They teach you how to be present in the moment. Because we're sometimes here, like I'm physically here, but I'm not mentally here. Like I'm just like, you know?
Yeah.
So I had to learn to be physically and mentally there and put myself there and not just be a robot.
Gotcha. Because there's always probably so many things running through your mind too. Like I have to remember my lines. I have to remember like what I'm supposed to like wear and look and posture. It's like a lot probably going on.
And for me, it was really hard because I was never sure like, do I look at the camera or do I look at the person next to the camera? I'm like, I'm so confused. And they teach you that, and so it was really, really cool for me to learn that and to continue. The more auditions I got, the more comfortable I got with it. Okay. And I'm like, oh, I got this. Like, or if it's something big, like sometimes they'll send me an audition that has 3 scenes, then I'll be freaking out because I'm like, oh shoot, okay, I have to learn all of this dialogue. But it's so much fun. But it doesn't put me in a mindset where I'm too nervous about this. Gotcha. It's just like, oh, I got this. I just have to keep working on it.
That's great. That's really positive. I feel like just literally meeting you right now, you already have this positive aura. So then to like learn that you've taught yourself that is even more empowering, especially as like a female now trying to like be in this world right now. That's really incredible.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And I love to meet other artists or other people who want to learn about art and all of this different world, because a lot of people don't really like it or get it.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably so many misunderstandings or like stereotypes about it, especially in Los Angeles where it's so much. Yeah. So growing up in Los Angeles, was it kind of hard to break into the industry, or because was it more comfortable since you were from here?
I think for me it was more comfortable. Okay. Because I was already I am always amazed to meet people who didn't come from here, like who weren't born here and who came from like somewhere really far to come follow their dream. Because I don't know if I wouldn't have been raised here, I don't know if I would have like came all the way over here. Like I don't know if I would have the courage to do that. So when I meet these actors that came from so far and left their families, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you did this for your dream. So I'm very, very thankful for the people that I've met, even people from LA or people. It's funny because I haven't met actors like who are born in LA.
Oh, really?
No.
So they're kind of the minority then.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I'm like, what?
You think there'd be more like Los Angeles people?
Right? No, like half of the people in my class aren't from here, and I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
That's kind of cool because I'm sure you learn so many cultures and different types of people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really interesting.
So what is your favorite part about being an actress, or like just being in different, do you prefer like certain movies or TV roles, or do you just prefer anything that you can get? How is the process of just like being in stuff?
I love storytelling. I love to tell stories, and I think telling stories that are so personal to me and so close to my heart is something that I want to do, especially now that I want to get into eventually directing.
Oh, that's oh my god, that's incredible.
Yeah,
you have so many things you do.
Like my grandfather always said, like, don't limit yourself. You can do anything you set your mind to. You just have to do the work. But I think photography kind of made me fall in love with directing and being behind a camera.
Okay.
But I love to tell stories. I love getting into character. I love to play characters that are so far from who I am.
Okay.
Because they make me work.
Yeah.
Because then I try to figure them out. Yeah, because if I can play someone who I'm so close to, I'm like, I got her. I know you.
Yeah.
But when it's somebody who is so opposite from me, I always like, damn it, girl, what are you? Like, I'm trying to get you. And it's really interesting, the process of becoming somebody else, feeling their emotions and what they are going through. I love that, and I love expressing that, because I feel like when you show that, you're gonna put it out in the world, and you might inspire somebody, or somebody might connect to the character, and because I know I'll be watching movies and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel you.
Yeah, and
so
you cry.
So you connect, and they say things that you are thinking but you would never say.
Yeah.
So I love
so
playing characters like that are so different from me, that I know I want to say, but I know Heather wouldn't, because I'm like, I'm too nice. I will not say this to you, even though you deserve it. But I can play a character who would just like straight up just tell you, and I'm like, oh, this is fun.
Oh, that's fun.
So that's very interesting.
That's probably so cool to do, because it's like you can be Heather, and like when you go home you're Heather, but when you're on, like when you're being in your role, it's like, oh shit, like I can just really go all out on this and like experience what it would feel like to be this person. That's so fun.
It is. And what I like about, I don't really know, because everybody always asks me, what type of actress are you? And I'm like, I don't know how I work. I'm still learning my technique. And with every character that I play is very, very different. But I like not connecting so much of me with the character, because I get to separate the both. If it's something really, really dark, I have to be able to get to that place without Heather fully going in, because then I will be depressed after it. I'm like, oh shoot.
I was gonna say, how do you separate? But you just kind of detach the Heather.
Yeah.
And go in like a blank slate.
I'm like, this is a body you can use, and just let me know what you're feeling, and I would try to bring that out of myself. And then after I'm done with her, just be like, I have to go. Because this is not me.
That's actually a really good way
me.
to do it, because you hear so many stories. Like, I mean, probably one of the biggest is like Heath Ledger got so into the Joker that it like, you know, affects him in his life. So that's really incredible that at such a young age you've already learned how to do that, like
detach myself.
That's so incredible. That's really inspiring to people that are also like watching or listening, or just know you, to know like, oh wow, it is possible to do something like that, and just really make sure your mental health is okay. That's
because
incredible.
you can really go into that. Like I remember I got a part for I recently did like a part for I'm a sex slave. Okay. And it's so hard to get into that mentality. I'm being used for
that is some
like,
scandalous stuff there.
I'm so scared of this, and it's reality, it's life, and it's happening, and we have to tell these stories, and we have to be able to be there emotionally. Even though I'm not going through it, Heather isn't, but this little young person is, and I want to show that. And I want to show her pain.
And that's incredible that you would want to take a role like that, even though it's kind of like risky or like maybe more scandalous than you're like used to being. But you're right, like you're telling the story, someone is going through that, and you're bringing that to life. That is so incredible, because that would sometimes scare people away from that role. Right. But you take that on, it's like, oh my god, like that's so legit, of like shows how genuine of a person you are too, and your character.
Yeah, I do my best, my very best to just try to express myself and show these characters, like bring them to life, and hopefully connect with somebody from that.
That's incredible. What are some other roles that you have been in or that you have coming up, if you can talk about them?
I've played, like, I'm always the troubled teen, which is so funny. Like, I've played an addict. I just did a short little skit with some of the girls from class yesterday in Zoom, which was very interesting.
How was that?
It was very interesting because it was through Zoom, and like I've never like acted through Zoom. Yeah. like and everything else is now like auditions are through Zoom.
Everything, right?
Callbacks. So it's so crazy to me. But it was so fun. It was such a little short skit, and hopefully it'll be out soon so that I can share it. But
we'll post it when she lets us know.
Yeah, but I really play a lot of teens and I've played addicts. I've played sex slaves. I've played very interesting different characters. The board. Yeah, I played really innocent, sweet, because I know I can play that. Yeah, and I've done a lot of plays in class, which is really interesting. And that kind of got me into reading plays, because before I didn't used to read anything. And now
is there a big difference?
From like plays and like movies. Well, I think I like doing plays a lot because when you do it off of a movie, you always have the like urge to go see the movie and be like, oh, how did this person do this? Yeah, and I don't like that. That's why when I would get scenes from a movie, I would never watch the movie. And I would try to just do something from that I just forgot about. Yeah. So I started wanting to do only plays, because when you do a play, you're gonna build this character. Unless it's online or something and somebody already did it. But I don't really look at that. I like to do it myself, because I would have the urge to be like, wait, how did so and so play it? Yeah. Did she see the things that I saw in hers? But I don't like that, but that's why I would stick to plays, because plays are like, you build your own character and you learn from doing the first take. And then me and my scene partners would like literally dive in and learn new things every time we would rehearse. We would do it different, and we would learn new things.
Cool. And it's cool to have that collaboration. Yeah. That's incredible. I feel like also plays are like a little harder too, because you play them multiple nights, right? Like you might do a whole week when you're doing every single day. Yeah. And then it's like that just not only is just crazy like artistic ability, but that's also like stamina. Like you have to make sure you don't get fatigued. And
I've never been like in theater. I've never done theater. My coach is always like, you should sign up to do theater. Yeah. And I'm like, I mean,
if you're interested in plays, that's almost like a good transition.
Yeah. So I've thought about it.
So you have mentioned also like you want to get into directing, and then the photography kind of has gotten you interested in that. Let's kind of transition now to like how you became a photographer.
Photography, I started around the same age, 15, 16. My grandfather was the one that got me into photography. I remember he gave me a Polaroid, but it didn't work. And I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not gonna tell him, but I'm just gonna like have it here for display. Yeah. But I started to learn a lot about composure, exposure, and all that. And I would always take pictures with my mom's flip phone.
And like throw them to the flip phone. I remember those. Remember the days when there was no camera?
The razor one?
Yes.
The like little thing ones to be like, oh my gosh, dude, I love those.
Oh my god.
But I was always interested in it, and so I would always read about it, and my mom blessed me with like my first digital camera like a year after.
Oh, nice. And do you remember what kind of camera it was?
It was a Sony Alpha 390, I think.
Okay.
I was really old, but it was my child. Like I would sleep with it. Like I was like so in love with it. Like nobody can like. My mom would always be like, "Are you serious?" And I would always take pictures of everybody and everything. And I fell more and more in love with photography. And I love to take pictures of like nature and sunsets, because my grandfather will always call me like, look at the sky. He's like,
so and like he would call me.
Yeah, so that every time I see a sunset, I always picture him, and I'm always like, oh, he will always get excited about that.
That's actually funny you say that, because your Instagram is very landscapey in a sense, and now that like totally makes sense now knowing that story. Like
it's all from my grandfather. Every sunset that I ever see,
now I'm gonna see your photos and be like, oh, Gramp.
Yeah, and I always carry a camera with me. Like I always have.
I'd say you have a camera. That's a cool camera. So what camera is that?
This is a Fujifilm. Okay. Everybody thinks it's a film camera, but it's not.
I was gonna say it almost kind of looks like film too.
Yeah, it's one of the older ones. So
that's cool. So you just always are prepared, like in case you see something that's really interesting. Oh, that's incredible.
I always have to have a camera with me, and it's funny because I would just like even if I go to a liquor store, I might take it with me. I'm like I never know what I might see.
Yeah.
But
honestly, the other day, me and my boyfriend. This is a little tangent, but we went to a liquor store like right up the street. We hadn't been there before, and we're like walking around, just like we were trying to find random Mountain Dews for this like challenge we want to do, and we couldn't find it. But we noticed like all on the refrigerators there was like pictures of Kobe Bryant. We're like, oh, that's really dope.
Yeah.
And then we walked to the front to pay, and the whole front of the store is like decorated. There's all these Lego sets created. Like this guy spent money to like make his store look like a piece of art. So you could go to the store and find some art. You
right?
Never know.
Yeah, you never really know. And it's funny because I just recently started shooting film.
Okay.
And that's like a whole different world.
I was
like, it's crazy. But I love it. I remember getting my first rollback and like I had like blanks and then half of the photo, but I'm like, oh crap. But it's so cool because that's how you learn, that's how you grow. And so photography is like my little escape from acting, because when acting isn't going so good for me or I haven't got auditions in a while, I love to just turn to a camera and just explore the world and then come back with a different mentality.
That's really great, because that's like, not only is it a skill in itself, but if that's like your like go-to place to kind of re-energize yourself, that's incredible, because it's like you're self-teaching yourself a whole nother art. Like that's incredible, dude. Like oh my gosh,
I love it.
You're a jack of all trades, miss.
I love art. That's all I want to like spread out in the world and just put out my art.
That's incredible, because I feel like art is you can do so much with art, and you can impact so much with art. I mean, the boundaries are endless. There's really no boundary. That really didn't make sense what I said. There's no boundary to what you can do.
Yeah.
That's so incredible.
And I also grew up being very, my grandfather was very supportive of the things that we wanted to do, and he was always telling us like, don't limit yourself. If you do something, you accomplish that goal, you can do so much more. Like continue. And I really took that to heart. Like, so I'm like, if I can act, but I'm also interested in photography, I can do that too. If I'm into say art, like I can draw too if I want to. You get me? So I'm like, there's no stopping to what you can do if you actually have the passion for it. And you just explore the idea of, this is something that I can do too.
Yeah, dude, that's like, oh my god, you're just like inspiring me right now. Like honestly, that was like hit home, because I feel like I really connect to that, because I feel like I never had like a trait. Like I wasn't really good at anything, so all I knew how to do was like work a job. Like I could work any freaking job. You just tell me what to do, train me, okay, I'll be fine. Like I would just work. I worked since I was like 11 years old, but I never had like an artistic trade or like a doctor or like my boyfriend's a welder, like those types of trade jobs. So I always felt like I was a loser, like, oh, I can't do anything, you know? And then I got into modeling, and I was like, oh shit, like it's going pretty well. I think this is what I can do, and I'm passionate about it, and maybe like other people don't think it's good, but like I think I'm improving. And then lately I'm like, why am I just gonna limit myself to being a model when I can do so much more than that? And that's why I started this podcast, because I feel like there's so much more you can do and experience. And just by talking to you, I learned so much from talking to other people. Like you just inspired me, like, oh, what else do I think I'm into? Like that's so incredible. And that's cool too, that your whole body of career of your art is like a full circle from your grandfather, which I'm sure just like hits home to you every time you think about it.
I get, like, I don't want to cry, but I'm like, oh shit, because he impacted my life. So like everything I always did, quitting for me is not an option. It's because of him. He would always be like, I did not raise quitters. I raised you guys to be hard workers, be independent, and go for what you want. Don't let people tell you because you are a woman you're supposed to be a certain thing.
Preach.
I'm like, no. He's like, you can do so much more. If you reached your goal, you can go even more. So every time that I feel like, you know, we all have our moments where like, okay, I feel like I'm done. Like he'll literally pop into my head and he'll be like, quitting is not an option. I'm like, okay.
Little noise.
Yeah, I'll have like this little funk and I'll be like, okay, I'll just like have my little breakdown and be like, okay, let's get it. And I'll just great, get up and I'll be like, okay, fine.
That's so great because you give yourself the time to kind of feel like bad and then you're like, okay, now I've done it, I'm good.
Yeah, and I think we should allow ourselves to have those moments because if we reserve them and just hold them in, it's just going to explode in another moment. Yeah. And it's going to be worse.
I completely agree. I think people need to have those moments. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to scream, have your moment. If you feel sad for 3 days, you feel sad, but on the 4th day, pick yourself up. Yeah. Dude, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I especially if you're in this world of being an artist, because a lot of people will look at you and be like, that's not real. That's not a real job. That's not something that you should be doing. And I got really lucky to have supportive sisters, or supportive parents. My grandparents were very supportive, and those are the people who actually counted for me. I'm like, if they don't agree with this, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But thank God that they were like, okay, this is what you want to do. We'll support you fully.
That's incredible.
When I don't have anything, and my sisters are always like, oh, you have an audition, you can take my car, just take me to work. And so they always compromise with the things that I have to do.
Dude, that's so great. I think having a good support system, especially when you're trying to like be in the entertainment world or be in just the artistic bubble in a sense. I mean, obviously it's bigger than a bubble, but for lack of anyways, so I feel like that is so important. Like, support systems really keep people grounded and they really keep people going in life. Yeah. That's so great because I feel like I didn't have a good support system, so I kind of just relied on myself. And I love when I hear people that have a good support system because I'm like, oh my God, like that is actually real. Because for me, growing up, I didn't think that was real. I just thought like, the world's broken, everyone's broken, I just have to fight for myself. Right. And then I meet people and it's like, oh my God, like I actually love it. Like most people maybe would be jealous of it, but I love hearing those stories because I'm like, that's so incredible. Yeah. Like good for them, good for that family. I just love stories like that.
You have support now, right?
I do now, yeah. But it took a while. It took a while. And actually that kind of leads me into the fact that, so we met, this is the first time we're really meeting, but I feel like I've already known you because, so I have shot with Skin Deep Photo, shout out Melissa, and you have as well. And so at first I just knew you as like a model from her profile. Yeah. And then it's funny because Melissa and her company are just so empowering in herself and just wanting to make like everyone feel like a goddess, and she's so empowering behind the camera and her crew is so positive. So then you feel like whoever she shoots with is like a good person, like you feel positive around them. So then it kind of ended up being where like we just started like liking each other's photos or commenting, and then we follow each other, and I feel like I've known you now. But it's so incredible because I feel like I want to give her the shout out because it's like she's created this really badass zone of like women that now like support each other even though we might not know each other physically.
It all started with her. And it's crazy because if you meet her, she doesn't seem like she talks a lot, but like when you truly meet her, she has so much knowledge to her, and I'm like,
yes. She just gives us this vibe and then you already feel positive. Right? And it's funny that like now we're talking about support systems because I went through a period of time where like I kind of had a really bad photo shoot and I was like, maybe I'm not meant to do this anymore. Kind of like you said you'd have a moment, then you'd think of your grandfather. Yeah. And I actually was having breakfast with Melissa, like just hanging out. And she was like, no, dude, like we'll just shoot it again. We'll do it all over. And now we got a magazine. So it's like, oh my God. So that's why I feel like that whole, like just the women around me or that I'm surrounding myself on, or like the people I follow on Instagram, that has kind of been my support system. Like, so like thank you and thank you, Melissa, because I feel like that's so incredible too to have powerful females around you.
And I love to meet people like that because I don't like meeting other women and just having that. Even if you feel it when somebody is like, oh, so fake, and you're just like, oh,
and they're just trying to like get to know you because of like what you do or like how you could help them.
I hate that, and I'm very, very supportive. I grew up with women, so I love women, and I love my sisters, and I always support them. And whatever they want to do, I'm always like, okay. And especially because I'm the oldest, and I feel like they're my babies. Yeah, so that's how I treat my friends too. Like whatever they want to do, I'm always like down to be like to help or always just listen and be like, you got this, you can do this.
That's the best thing too, just listening to people.
Because I think there's not there's a lot of assholes in this world. I'm like, I am
so
not trying to be one of them.
Yeah,
like, I want people to understand that you can build a foundation, and you can build so much goodness into this very crappy world that we're living in.
Especially now, too. Like, we need artists like you to really spread their message and spread their positivity. So that is, like, even more incredible, because you have so many elements where you can spread your love and passion.
Yeah, and I think it really grew with just accepting the fact that this is me, this is what I am really truly doing, and just acknowledging that and just going forward with that, and just accepting the little things, and meeting people like you, from all the actors that I've worked with and I met in class. I love them. I love every single one of them.
You have such good experiences too.
Yeah, and I've never met actors in my life. Like, that was my first time actually meeting actors. And they're so real, and they're so raw, and they're so talented, and they're very, very supportive.
Oh, good.
And I think that's what we need, as not even in just because of art, but in general, human beings. We need people who are gonna uplift each other. Like, if you're gonna come at me with like such a negativity vibe, I'm just gonna be like, I don't fuck with you then. I'm just gonna walk away. Because I don't have the time or energy to be in this or fighting with you or anything. Like, and I don't need that in my life, especially where you're trying to go mentally and where you're trying to go in life. You shouldn't have people like that who are just going to pull you down and be so jealous of the things that you are doing and bringing out.
I totally agree. It's such a good point too, because I feel like, especially for someone like you who has so many feet in the door, like, you have the acting, you have the photography, and you have, like, you do models, so it's like, and you also, like, are going to be directing, and you can sing, like, you have all these things and, like, connections that I'm sure you probably have a lot of people that try to come up to you and, like, be fake, and it's like, no, I don't need that. And it's like, I only want people around me that help me grow. I feel like I love meeting people like you, or like Melissa, etc., because it's like, we all know how it is to, like, be passionate about an art, because we all are into a different art or same similar art, that it's like, I want to see you grow. Like, I follow her people that she shoots with, because I'm, like, so excited when I see their photos. Like, girl, you killed that shoot. That's fire. Like, I think that is such a positivity, because it's like, you are just giving out to people on Instagram or whichever media or in the things you're in, like, that positivity to be like, let's just support each other, let's grow. Like, I'm happy for you, I'm not jealous. Like, that is great. I really love that.
And I remember the first time I shot with Melissa, I was really nervous.
How did you guys kind of come about? Have you already known each other?
No.
Okay, let's talk about your modeling. Let's just transition to there.
So I don't even consider myself, I don't even consider myself a model, but because I got into acting, I started saying, oh, well, I need to have some shots, because casting directors look at your stuff now. So you have to have a different types of photos up. So I was going through a breakup when I met Melissa, and I remember I don't know how I ended up on her page, but I just loved her photos. And I remember sending her a DM and asking her if we can shoot or whatever, and she replied let's do a collab. And I'm like, okay, and I was really nervous, because I'm like, okay, I don't know how to, because I've never
first time doing it.
I'm like, I smile like this? I'm like, I don't know, I'm just gonna let her direct me. And I remember meeting her.
I love first time stories. So nerve-wracking.
I am not a model. I am the most awkward person in the entire world. So for me to be in front of a camera and be like,
you're so
do you want
cute.
me to
I feel like you're not awkward at all, and that's what's so cute about you.
No. So we met, and I was like, okay, I was really nervous. I was like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, but she made it so comfortable, and she made it so it was very easy, and it was very easy to just let loose. And I think that's the beauty about Melissa, is she makes it feel so comfortable that it's even if you've never done it, you're just like, oh, look at me, I'm a pro now. I know what to do now. But after that, we just stayed really, really close. We started texting, and then I did another shoot with her for Halloween. And
your Halloween one was fire.
Oh my gosh, that was
cool.
Such a
with the
fun
hands and the neck. Oh, it's fire. If you guys have not seen it, go to Skin Deep or your profile, Heather's. We'll tag it down here. It's incredible the character you became in that shoot.
It was funny because Well, that was another shoot that we did around the black and white one you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, you did the one with the clown one too.
Yeah, that's the second time I shot with her. I was like,
that one was kind of a while ago. Yeah. There's so many.
Yeah, I've shot with her a while. Like and it's cool because she already knows me as a person. Yeah. So she's like, I already know how you are. And it was really cool. It's really cool to shoot with her. And if you notice, Melissa is my whole feed. Like, I don't shoot with any other photographer.
You know what?
Like when
That's
people,
a good point. Actually,
yeah, when people like tell me like, oh, like you're a model, I'm like, I'm not. I just shoot with one photographer. Like she is my person. Like she is my photographer.
That's awesome though. That's like a good loyalty to her too.
Yeah, and I love her, and I've told her like when I make it, Melissa, I'm gonna take your ass with me because you're gonna take every picture with me. I feel this. Every picture you have to take, like every magazine and the red carpet, you gotta be there.
Dude, yes, we're all gonna come up.
Right? I'm like, let's go. I'm like, if I make it, we all make it. I'm taking all of you guys. We gotta get a jet, everything.
Everything.
But that's how we became really close friends, and we just really connected in a weird way because we our birthdays are like 2 days apart.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we had that in common.
Yeah. What is your guys' sign?
Taurus.
Oh, okay. Nice.
The boy.
I'm like really like nerdy into it.
I'm not. So every time people ask me, I legit think I'm like, I don't.
You're like, I'm like, I think I just like nerded out. Really
Like my sister is too, my little sister, and she likes to talk about it all the time. And she's like, you have a rising moon, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, right? She always tells me, but I'm like, I'm so confused on what's going on right now.
That's funny.
And she'll tell me like,
everyone's thing.
Yeah, I don't really get it. I'm like, I listen and I try to understand her. And she's like, this is why you're like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay.
This is like, it's like all those memes, like, okay, just because they're a blah, blah, blah.
Right? I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's funny. But that's cool, your birthdays are so close.
Yeah. And that's how we've had lunch and we just talk and talk and talk for hours. And we can be very open with each other. Yeah. And I love friendships like that. I love people like that where I can literally cry and like let you know like, oh, today's not a good day. Today sucked.
Dude, that's
and
incredible to have. That's so important to have and so incredible, especially because you guys are both artists too, so you understand each other on a whole nother level that maybe some people don't. Yeah, so I because I don't have all of my friends growing up weren't in this business, so when I would talk to them about it, it's they like I don't. Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh my God. Okay, well, same. Did you see that one show? And it's like I don't know what to say anymore because it is hard. It's not easy, and people think it's like it's not real. You get me? For them, they don't understand it. So when you have a bad day, or you even if you mess up on something, you're so hard on yourself that you're like, I want to talk to somebody else who might understand what I'm going through. Because it's hard. It's really hard when someone that's like your friend, but they don't understand that part of your life. They can't get to that moment you need them to get to. Right. So it's incredible that you do have a friend that you can get there. You can cry with them. They'll understand like, oh, okay, like I don't know how to get this specific picture right. Or like I had like a bad day filming or whichever. That's so important. That's so great. And it's so good because I'm also blessed to have people who are not in the business. I have like legit just 2 people that I can go to and be like, this sucked, man. This sucked. Let me tell you, I was really bad at this. Meant for an hour. Yeah, and then they'll be like, let's go eat. And so it's really, really cool to have people who are also not in the business who are still there and supportive. Yeah, I'm sure that keeps you grounded too, because it kind of keeps you from like not being like, oh, like the fame and fortune, and kind of like, okay, this is like real life. Yeah, and I'm very thankful that I grew up kind of sheltered and kind of without anything. That for me, I'm not in this because I want to be famous. Gotcha. Again, I am very awkward. I do not like anybody to look at me unless it's a character. If it's a character, then I'm down. Like you can look at me all you want. But if it's me, I'm like, please don't look at me. Thank you for doing my show. Yes, because when you ask me, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, well, this is growth. This will help me grow. Yeah. I'm like, I was so happy because I was like, ooh, like, I mean, I know she doesn't really know me, but like, I would love her to come on the show because you just seemed so interesting and positive. I only want people that are positive, right? So like, I can like authentically sit here and be interested in like what you're saying. Because if I wasn't interested, I don't feel like this would produce well, right? Like, it would be like bullshit. And I'm like, no, like this girl, I like her. I want her on my show. Yeah, thank you so much. Because when you asked me, I legit read it and I'm like,
let me read it twice because I'm not sure if she's asking me.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, this is cool. But yeah, and I'm that type of person. Like, I'm not in this for the fame or the money. I grew up with nothing. I don't, when we pass away, like when we die, none of this is going to go with us.
Yeah.
It's like who we are as a person, what we bring into this world, how we treat people. Yeah. So I'm like, that's what's going to count for me. And that is why I want to do this. That is why I want to continue to help people find their own passions, because you can do that. You can help somebody like discover their own passions.
Yeah.
And
dude, you just inspired me. Like, I'm going to go after this and be like, what the hell am I going to do else?
You can do anything you set your mind to. So for me, doing this, it's growth. Like legit, this is me trying to be more comfortable getting interviewed and talking about my experience, because I don't like to talk about myself either. I'm like not like that. And that's how I am with like photo shoots, and I always try to like make little characters, because I'm like, this is the only way I can get people to like take me pictures. And it's really cool because Melissa already knows how I work, so she'll be like, okay.
But you should also, like, I know you know, obviously you're an actress in photography is your passion too, but like your pictures are beautiful. Like, you are a model too, even though maybe that's not your like claim to fame, but you are a model too. Like model to model, like, dude, your pictures are dope. Like, and it's even incredible when I learned you were an actress, because I looked back, when I was doing my deep dive on you, I was like, oh my god, like, now that I know she's an actress and you did the alien kind of shoot, and like all those cool ones, I'm like, oh wow, like she really could have gotten that. Like, if I did a shoot like that, it would be really fun and I would love it. But you probably in it were like on a whole nother mindset, like, how can I be exactly in this way? And I'm sure that just helps the art come full force, like, because you know how to get into like a character, and that's like really empowering.
It's really, really cool. I always like to, I have to put like a character on me for me to actually be like in it, because or else I'll just be very like,
smile.
Like, I don't know. Do you want teeth here or not? But
it's funny you say that, because like that like runs through my head too. Like, do I smile? Do I not smile? Like, I feel like I'm like a serious model because I don't smile as much as I like could, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. Like, if you really look at my pictures, I feel like I'm mostly like almost like pout, I guess, or like my mouth's kind of closed. I don't know. I feel like I don't smile as much.
Oh,
but then I see yours and like
badass.
They're so beautiful and like so like you radiate positivity, and I think that also it helps that you have that connection with Melissa, because you probably feel so much comfortable with her that then it radiates your true self.
She like brought it out of me, and
that's
crazy.
what sometimes we need in life, like some people to just like bring out our true selves. And that's incredible, because not even knowing you, I looked at your pictures, I just talked to you in a couple words, and I already knew like, this girl seems really positive. And then just what you say now, like, you don't do it for the fame, you don't do it for the money, you're just doing it for the passion of the art. That is incredible. I love that message. I think that's so important these days, because I feel like I'm just trying to bring magic into the world, and it's like yours on the same plane as that.
Yeah, I think it's very cool to meet people who are on the same boat as you, and like just honestly want to bring good into this world and just want to spread love and positivity, because we need it. We need it. And I think a lot of people always be like, oh, you're too cheesy, and it's like, I don't give a fuck if I am. Like, I really don't. Like, I think people need to humble themselves truly and be like, if you feel something, say it. If you love something, say it. I'm very, very affectionate. I'm very passionate, and I always like to tell people like, oh, when you look good or when you look pretty, like, I don't have a problem with doing that. And I think we don't do it as much, we have to.
There's too many trolls in the world.
Yes, and you don't want people to go walking in this world and I feel like, oh, I don't feel nice today. And you can, one little compliment can just make someone's day.
Whole day. Dude,
and it's so good. And it's like, we need to do that, and we need to spread that, because we don't have that. I didn't have that growing up. And I think it's very important, because you want to build people up and not step on them. You don't want nobody to be, if I have a hand and you need help, I'm going to give you my hand. You get me? So I think
that's so touching. It's so true.
Yeah, and it bugs me when people are always like, oh my gosh, like, you are all about like just positivity and love. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what people think about me. I'm gonna say what I feel, and I'm not gonna be afraid to be like, oh, well, okay, I'm too cheesy now.
Yeah, no, that's incredible to know know, like, you just saying that, like, I can tell, like, you know who you are, and, like, you might have been through experiences that, of course, like, not, you know, no one's life's perfect, right? So I'm sure you've been through experiences, and you've shared some of those experiences of, like, growing up and being sheltered, and now to, like, know who you are, like, you know exactly who you are, you know what you bring to the table, you know your strengths and your weaknesses. That's so incredible to know, like, you aren't gonna mess with me, because like, I know who I am. And I'm sure that really helps in the acting world, because, you know, I'm sure, like, obviously there's, like, the stereotypic, it's cutthroat and stuff, but that just shows, like, it doesn't matter, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna be Heather, or you're gonna be that character that Heather has to put on. So you already have a leg up in the game, which just really, for me, your whole story comes full circle, because it's like, that is so incredible from, like, the first moment of, like, you don't give up and you're just gonna go for it and detach from, like, negativity. Like, that's why you're meant to do this. Like, that's why you had that light bulb go off in high school. Like, oh shit, like, I think I need to be in this. Because, like, people like you, that is what gets you to be where you're supposed to be. And
I think I'm a strong believer in everything happens for a reason. If the good and the bad, and everything aligns the way it's supposed to be. And I never see this as it's a competition. There's a lot of competition, and I'm always like, no, you know, if it was in my part, it was somebody else's part, and it was their time. My time's gonna come when it's my time. And while I get there, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna grow, I'm gonna continue to feed myself all of this knowledge that I need to get there. And it's fine. I never look at it, it's like, oh, like, you walk into a room and you literally walk into a room and everybody kind of looks like you, and it's like, oh shit. But is that
weird
fun.
A little bit in the beginning?
I remember going to my first audition, I'm like, oh, so you guys are all wearing the same thing. I'm like, okay.
Because I feel like I just think of that La La Land scene. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but when Emma Stone's, like, she's wearing the, like, plaid shirt, and everyone's wearing the plaid shirt.
Oh my gosh, I remember going to an audition and I wore a flannel, because I'm like, oh, this is what it's teens be wearing flannels, you know? Dude, everybody had a flannel. I was just like,
there goes my leg up.
Should I put it, like, my collar up? I don't know. Should I put my hair up then?
That's so funny.
But it's just the way it is, and everybody's gonna see it as it's a competition. You have to be good. But I always see it as, like, no, just go in there, do the best that you can do, and then just, that's it, let it go. And if it's your time, it's your time. If it's not, it's not. Because I've had auditions where I've been so close, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is it, but then I didn't get it, and then I would see the person I got it, I'm like, oh, okay, I know why you got it. And this, I'm like, you deserve this, and this is your time.
Oh, I love that. That's really sweet, because it's like, you feel like there would be, like, an edge of you, like, oh shit, I was so close, that could have been my moment. But that's so incredible that you're just like, no, like, it's like, let them have their moment and I'll get mine. And that just shows that you are so adaptable to growth and learning and knowledge, that, like, that's just your passion. And if it wasn't your passion, that might have bothered you. But you're so passionate about it that you're like, no, it's good. I'm still working on it.
I'm so in love with it. Like, it's crazy. Like, I always say, like, I love photography, but when it comes to acting, like, acting's the love of my life. Like, photography is like my baby, but I can never not tell stories. Like, I just want to do acting for the rest of my life.
That's incredible. I really love that. And I think just the acting of telling stories really transcends in all your other medias, because you tell stories in your pictures, and then you tell stories of the pictures people take of you. So and the whole Heather of this story is like, she's trying to tell those stories.
I'm just trying to tell these stories for you guys to see.
Is there anything, like, you're currently doing that you want to, like, promote, or where people can find you?
Right now, I'm working on...
I know it's hard with, like, COVID shut everything down.
Yeah, I'm actually starting... I've been doing this for a while, but when it comes to my art, I'm very... Like, I'm a perfectionist, and I'm like, it has to be perfect. It has to see how I see it in my head. So I've been working on this graphic t-shirt line for a while, and I'm trying to put my photographs into pictures, and have this brand that just spreads love and positivity.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, but I've been working.
We'll plug that.
Yeah, I definitely would, like, let you know. I haven't finished, and it's in the works still. I'm still looking at designs. I'm still designing, and what's cool about it is that I'm actually doing some of the design work. So
that's incredible.
I'm putting in my sketches. I'm putting in my photography. I'm putting in positive words that people have engraved in me that I want other people to like have in them.
That's so incredible.
Because I think it's so important to spread that and to continue to spread it, because it's so like Jonathan.
Jonathan's mask.
This
smile and worry less, guys.
Right, and I'm
no better way than that.
Right, and I think
cute little character.
It's so amazing to see all these other people who are doing the same thing and spreading the love and positivity. And I think we have to, because we are in this line of work, we have to do that. So I've been working on that. I have been working on a couple of like sketches and like skits, but I don't know when those are gonna come out. The movie that I did, I don't know when it's gonna come out, because everything is
you've done a movie recently that should come out.
It should come out soon.
Okay.
So we'll
promote it for you.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But hopefully with everything happening, I've just stayed focused on my t-shirts and just try to stay busy as much as you can, because your mind can play tricks on you and you can start getting to a very dark place real fast. So I'm working on that, and just trying to grow more in my film photography, because I want to learn more because there's so much to learn.
Awesome. I love that.
Thank
you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Just the storytelling of your life too, and what you've been through and how you've gotten to each part of your career is so important, because people could watch and listen, and just your story in itself is like advice for the world and just anyone listening, because it's so empowering. And you just taught me, like, me listening to you tell your story is so, I love that. Like, for someone to share their story, it's such a personal thing to them. And then to open up, it's like, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I love it.
I love to talk to people, especially I think it's very important to be real, because you never know who you might inspire. You never know who might be feeling the same way. Because I know when I started shooting, photographing people, I would always talk to them, and a lot of them have the same fears I did, and I wouldn't think that, because they seem so confident and they were so sure of themselves. I'm like, oh shit, hold up, you feel the same way? I'm like, that's so crazy to me. But if you allow yourself to let people to really get to know you, like, you never know who you might meet and how you guys could connect and what you can show. Like this, like, I met you for a reason. I am here for a reason, and I'm so thankful for this.
The joy and magic.
Because I think it's such a blessing to meet people who aren't, like I said, on the same boat as you and want to do the same things. And I am truly thankful for this. And I think
I'm so thankful for you.
I'm so thankful for you.
We're having a love fest right now.
Right? We just met.
We just never know.
But yeah, it's so good to have people like that who want to do that and are not fake about it.
Yeah.
Like, you truly want to do that.
And that's so incredible. I feel like, yeah, you're right. This all happened for a reason, and it's just meant to be in that sense. Is there anywhere that people can find you?
My Instagram is Heather Yesenia.
We'll put it down here, guys.
Yeah. And my
that's where your like acting and your modeling pictures you do.
That's my personal Instagram, and then my photography is Shots de Amor X. And then when I have my graphic T-shirt, everything ready, I would send you a link. And
perfect. And then you'll you don't have the name yet or anything, correct? You don't have to if you
88. Yeah, I don't. I'm still working on it.
So follow her, and she'll keep you guys up to date.
I'm always posting.
And are you obviously right now, like, COVID's kind of crazy, but if people wanted to book you for photo shoots, do you do that?
Yes, I'm very safe on that, and I'll make sure that everything's safe. But if you guys want to, I would prefer you guys do it on the Shots de Amor.
Okay, you guys heard that? Booking her on her actual photography page.
Yeah.
And then if you want to book her for acting or to shoot her, book her on her normal page.
Yes.
Just Heather Yesenia.
Heather Yesenia.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, thank you. Is there any like last parting words or anything that else you want to say that maybe you haven't yet?
No, I'm just really thankful for this, and just to anybody who's watching, just to continue what you're doing. If this is what you want to do it, because it's very, very fun, but it's a lot of work, and you have to truly be passionate about it. Whatever you want to do, just remember that you have to work hard. Please remain humble, and please spread love and positivity, and just be kind to people, because we don't need more assholes in this world. Like, we really don't. Like, we have a lot of that. I've met a lot. I've gone through a lot. So I'm like, let's just try to be positive and try to continue to move forward and just do what you can, and don't limit yourself, because that's what people do. Don't limit
yourself and work hard. Listen to her grandfather's advice.
And knowledge is key. Whatever you want to do, always learn, and because that's something that people can never your knowledge is something that people can never take from you. So learn as much as you can, grow, and stay humble.
That was great. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Cheers, miss.